just gonna share it on social and stuff. Cool. So let's get into this. So I'm Zach, and this is the 1868 Now podcast show. It's a pregame show for 1868, and I'm live right now as I'm doing this. So today's match, obviously, it's Reno 1868 versus Oklahoma City Energy, two Western Conference powerhouse teams. OKC though did lose to Sacramento last week. OKC did lose to Sacramento last week, and it was sort of a blowout. So it'll be interesting to see if they come back from that, or if Reno's able to do the same thing that Sacramento was able to do last week. And on that, Brian Brown is back for Reno. He was up with Jamaica last week with their national team too, in which he did get a starting role for that team. So it's really good for him, and it's really good for the club. And to have him back is going to be amazing because he was very productive in the first couple weeks. He's had a hand in almost every goal we've scored, and he, except for last week's goal because he wasn't there, but he has had a hand in every goal we've scored. So my thoughts going into this match, I'm glad we're in the position we're in because we now have a chance to walk away with points in all four of our, points in all the first four of our matches. So that's a solid thing for us. That's the best start we've ever had in club history. And being able to just walk away with points in every game in a month, it's not easy, and it would be really nice if we could do that. And at least a draw today would get us to do that, but I think we'll walk away with a win. The keys to the game for Reno can't keep making the defensive mistakes that it has been. The first week we made defensive mistakes and it cost us a goal. I know that one point, I think it was last week, that Austin goal shouldn't have been a goal. Both of our defenders had possession of the ball before Austin got possession of the ball and was able to kick it into the net. Most of our defenders had the opportunity to clear it and they were unable to clear it, so that was a mistake on our part, and that's something that we definitely need to get better at. And then last week, that own goal could have been prevented really easily if the defender had just slowed down and tried to control the ball instead of immediately trying to clear the ball or kick the ball like immediately. If he would have just tried to keep the ball, handle it a little bit, and then try to send it towards the sideline instead of trying to send it towards the back line, that would have been a lot better than having it wind up in your own net. And even though Fresno was putting pressure on our guys at that point, I think that's something that we could have done. And it's definitely something that I think we could have done better. And just little defensive mistakes like that keep costing us games. Like, we could have won that game last week. Fresno did not score. The only goal that they got was an own goal. And I think we could have walked away with a win last week without that own goal. But I think we could. I think we have better defense than how our defense is playing, and I think these defensive mistakes are what's costing us. And some of that is communication. I mean, I think that if they were communicating better with things, then these little mistakes that end up costing us goals wouldn't be there as much. Like the defenders clearing the ball, it's a really easy communication between the two defenders. One of the defenders just has to call for it and then kick it out. So there's that. Reno can't be afraid to shoot the ball either. Last week, towards the end of the match, we were getting a ton more possession time. As the game went on, we were getting more and more possession time, and that obviously affects the way we play. But up to this point, Reno looks like they have been afraid to shoot the ball a little. Now, there have been guys like Raul and Brown who have been shooting the ball really well, but there are other guys who are on the team who don't shoot the ball. They look to pass first before they shoot the ball. And some of these guys had opportunities last week to shoot the ball, but just didn't take the shot, even though they could have, and they probably should have. And some of the shots could have ended up in goals, I think. But that's just an area where we need to work on. That hurt us a lot last year. A lot of games where we could have been up 2 or 3 or even had a goal period instead of drawing at 0. We ended up not scoring because our guys didn't shoot the ball like they were supposed to or like they could have, and they had the opportunities to. For OKC, I think the keys to the game really are they need to focus on playing their game, which I feel for OKC has to be like a slower game. You can't let Reno have the ball that much in the offensive zone. Up to this point, Reno's had a lot of attacking time, and teams have just sat back and let Reno control the ball and have the ball. Teams like Orange County let Reno really have the ball and control the ball in the offensive zone, right in front of the box, right on top of the box, and we're able. And Reno was able to convert on some of that. So for Oklahoma City, you kind of don't want that for Reno. So most of that has to be slowing down the game and controlling the ball on your end. And then challenging for the ball is part of that as well. I know that goal Raul scored last week, He got it because none of the defenders, there was like 4 defenders on him, none of them challenged him for the ball. And I think that that's what ultimately cost them the goal, despite the defenders, the keeper's mistakes or the mistakes on the keeper's part were crucial to the goal going in the net. But I do think that Reno could have, or Fresno could have kept the ball out by challenging for it a little bit more. And I think it's the same thing going back to OKC and Austin. Neither one of them really challenged Reno when they had the ball in the offensive zone. So I think that's something that OKC is going to have to look at really doing, putting a lot more pressure on Reno a lot sooner, not waiting for Reno to come to the box and then put pressure on them. And then OKC has to play better defense. The way they played last week in the blowout against Sacramento, they're not playing good enough on defense, and that's going to cost them against a team like Reno because Reno has the offensive firepower to really hurt Oklahoma City and teams that don't have really good defense because of guys like Brian Brown and Raul Mendiola, Seth Kissickly, Lindo Mafeka. We have a lot of firepower on our team that can really hurt other teams like Oklahoma City, so I think that that's something that Oklahoma has to really watch out for is how well they are playing on defense. And that might even mean subbing guys who may normally have a starting job, but if they're not a real true defensive player, putting in more defensive players than putting in more offensive players. I think, if anything, Oklahoma City's just going to have to fight for a draw in this one, if anything. Unless they do come out like Austin and score early and make it tough for Reno to come back. I think it's going to be a challenge for Oklahoma to really even just draw the game. So I'm predicting a 3-0 victory for Reno. I'm going to continue predicting that until Reno wins a game. When we do win a game, I would love that, So the reason I think that Reno's going to win by that much is just because we have that firepower. And last week, Oklahoma City did get blown out by Sacramento. So a few things are going on there that make me think that Reno could very easily make this a 3 or 4-0 game. We could easily have a 2-0 game before into the first half, and then just put another 2 in the second half, and that would be beautiful if we could do that one. So I'm looking up other USL scores right now. See what's already happened today. I heard there was something like 11 straight hours of soccer going on in the U.S. today between the USL and the MLS, so that's amazing. First score I'm looking at is the New York Red Bulls 2 and Memphis 901. Memphis lost that to New York. Not really surprised there. New York has always been a powerhouse in the USL, and they've always been a dominant team. And Memphis being a newer team, they're probably going to have some struggles, but I think that moving forward, both those teams are going to be good Eastern Conference teams. Tulsa tied RGB, or Tulsa beat RGB, 2-1. Tulsa, another Oklahoma team, and they're looking like they're going to be another Western Conference powerhouse, especially if they can beat a team like RGB. Tacoma lost to New Mexico United. Both of those teams are brand new to the league. Tacoma losing to New Mexico United is kind of insane, but just because Tacoma's been the Seattle Sounders too, and they have a little bit more history within the USL, I wouldn't think that they would come out and lose to new teams. But a 2-1 score isn't a bad score necessarily, but good for New Mexico United to get that win. And then those 3 scores were from yesterday, of course. And then today's score so far is St. Louis and Charlotte. St. Louis beat Charlotte 1-0, so St. Louis got the clean sheet. So it's good to see them getting a clean sheet. I think that they're going to, again, be an Eastern Conference powerhouse. St. Louis will be. But beating a team like Charlotte doesn't mean too much necessarily, because Charlotte, in my opinion, has always been a lower mid team or a bottom of the group type team. Looking at other matches now, obviously we have the Reno 1868 match coming up later today. Currently, the Indy 11 match and the Hartford Athletic match is drawn at 0, 19 minutes into it. That's the only match going on right now. Coming up matches are Louisville and Birmingham, North Carolina and Charleston. North Carolina and Charleston are actually going right now. They're 22 minutes in and it is 0-0. Bethlehem is playing Pittsburgh. They will be at 4:30. The Rowdies are playing London United or Landon United, whatever. That'll be at 4:30. Austin is playing San Antonio at 5:30, so that's a good in-state rivalry, I think, right there. That game's also a sellout, I heard, for Austin. So their first home game's going to be a sellout, so that's good for him. Or that's good for them, that's good for the league. Hopefully they'll be able to get a lot more. Hopefully they'll be able to stay in competition, especially next year or in the future when the MLS team comes to Austin. Reno and OKC they're scheduled for 6 o'clock now. It was scheduled for 5:45. El Paso's playing Orange County. That'll be at 7:30. LA Galaxy 2 is playing Portland 2. That'll be at 7. Las Vegas is playing Salt Lake City. That'll be at 7:30. And then the last match of the day will be Phoenix and Colorado Springs. That one will be at 7:30. Going back to the Vegas one, I think Vegas is going to lose again. Vegas just sucks ass this season like they did last season. So Vegas really doesn't have anything going for them. Once again, they are the lower of the two teams in the league or in the state. And I don't think that they're going to do much better than they did last year. Looking at San Jose now, because of course they are our affiliate, so I do need to talk about them a little bit. They lost 5-0 today to LAFC, so that's not really a shocker to me. I feel like LAFC is the top of the table team. They're definitely a league-wide powerhouse, and I feel like San Jose is San Jose is at the bottom of the league, period. There is nobody worse right now than San Jose. San Jose hasn't won a game this season. San Jose hasn't even gotten any points this season, so they are just awful. San Jose only got 2 shots on, San Jose got 6 shots, and only two of them were on net. Whereas LA got 20 shots and were able to net 5 of them. So, and San Jose had majority of possession too, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me as to why they let so many goals in. But things need to change in San Jose, and things need to change fast. And I don't think that just having the new coach is going to make a huge ton of difference this season. I think San Jose is still going to have to fight to stay out of the bottom of the league. But San Jose is just awful this year, and I'm not quite sure why. They just haven't been able to get there yet. I think they will win one at some point this year, but if they do, it will be against another lower level team in the league. The big thing too is that we have guys who are being productive and called up to national teams like Brown and stuff, and they're not calling them up. They're using all different kinds of combinations. They're using all different kinds of things to try to see if something will work in San Jose. And so far, nothing has worked. And part of the problem I'm seeing is nothing has worked on the field, yet they're still hyping up their coach a lot, especially the fans. The fans are doing a lot of hyping for their coach. But moving on to the MLS scores for this week. Friday, Toronto beat NYCFC 4-0, which is kind of crazy because I see both of them. I mean, I obviously see Toronto as an Eastern Conference powerhouse. They're definitely a team that should end up in the top of the league at the end of the season. But as far as New York City FC, I feel like they're a clear playoff team, or at least they have been in the past. and I don't see them as a team that should be getting blown out like this. But obviously it happens. So other scores from today include Chicago beating the Red Bulls 1-0. New England 1-1 for once. Thank God. New England won against Minnesota. I'm so happy that they actually won one. That's nice. Another blowout to talk about. Kansas City beat Montreal, but this is no different than the LAFC San Jose score because I do see Kansas City as being an Eastern Conference powerhouse, and I do see Montreal being kind of in the same position as San Jose, being bottom of the table for the Eastern Conference. So that's not really a big shocker for me there, that they would beat Montreal 7-1. And then games coming up today. Cincinnati is taking on Philly at 4:30. I hope Philly wins. Fuck Cincinnati. At 4:30, Columbus is taking on Atlanta. That should be a good one. Two definite powerhouses, I think, for the Eastern Conference. 6 o'clock, Houston's taking on Colorado. That should be another good game. That should be another close game. And then again at 6 o'clock, Salt Lake is taking on Dallas. That should be another good game, I think. I don't think either one of those two teams really has an edge on the other one. And then Vancouver is taking on Seattle at 7. That should be a good one. I know that they have a great rivalry and they have a great derby going on up north, so that's really a good one there. And then tomorrow, two matches set for tomorrow. The first one is Orlando and DC United at 3:30. That should be another good one. I think those teams are pretty even, but I do think Orlando has the edge in that one. And then LA Galaxy will be taking on Portland. Again, another good match, but I think Portland's got the edge on LA in that one. So I really only that can't be right. There's no way I've only been live for 2 minutes. Okay, 23 minutes, yeah, that's what I was thinking. Technical issues, you know. So, the kit I'm wearing the away kit. I do have the home kit, but it's signed by the team and it's on my wall. And then I have this hat, which you kind of can't see, but I love this hat. So, it's a U.S. soccer hat, and it's made out of a jean material. It's got the crest on the front, it's got the stars on the back. I love it. So, well, I think that's all I got for this episode. It's going to be another month, I guess, before the next one. Let me see. I think it's going to be another month or so before the next episode because Reno just doesn't have any home games. And the Aces are starting up here. Two in which the Aces are starting Tuesday with a game against the Nevada Wolfpack. The Nevada Wolfpack have been on fire lately as far as baseball goes, but we'll see who wins that one. That'll be fun to watch. Yeah, our next match is until April 20th, 4/20. We'll be playing New Mexico United in that one. So that will be the next episode of this. So I will be streaming that 4/20, obviously. So as far as this goes, though, thank you for watching. Join in on Twitter with the hashtag 1868now. To send me your thoughts, comments, concerns. Send me whatever, I don't care. Spam me with your channels or whatever you have, any other content. Thank you for watching.